Started here. Welcome everybody to this month's Portals Community Call, June 2026. I'm Jason Gumpert from MS Dynamics World, and as always, I have with me Nicholas Hayduke from Engineered Code. I will be handing things over to Nick in just a moment. Before I do, just a couple of housekeeping measures. First, we do welcome your questions during the event. Please look for the questions block, and Nick and I will be keeping an eye on that as the presentation moves ahead. Um, we also are recording today's event, so if you miss any part of it or just want to see another play of it, you can check that out as well afterwards. So, without any further delay, I think we're ready to begin. Nick, I'll hand things over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Welcome, everyone. Have a fun topic, a topic that is, in all the headlines these days with the AI and the agents. So we're going to talk about kind of adding the add an agent capabilities that exists within Power Pages. So yeah, thanks everyone for spending what's hopefully a nice summer day for the folks in the Northern Hemisphere. And let's dive in. So, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Nicholas Hayduke. I'm a software engineer with Engineered Code Consulting Inc., based here in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm a Microsoft MVP that focuses in Power Pages. I've been working with Power Pages essentially since the beginning. My career began at ADX Studio, which was the company that originally built Power Pages and was acquired by Microsoft in 2015. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, please feel free to send that connection request. Otherwise, if you're interested in the content that I do, you can follow us on X. You can follow along on our blog. You can follow along on our YouTube channel, as well as our podcast at crm.audio. So I do weekly tips on Tuesdays, kind of 2 3 minute videos on YouTube on Tuesdays. I do a blog about once a month. Um, do a podcast with George Dubinsky about once a month as well. So lots of content. Follow us on any of those kind of social media streams, and you can get access to. You can get notified when we've got new Power Pages stuff to share with the community. So um, moving on. As always, just want to say thank you to Jason and the team at MS Dynamics World for our collaboration over all the many years that we've been doing this. Really appreciate their support and helping me nail down some dates and coordinate and get the word out and help co-host these calls, making sure I'm not missing any of the questions. So thanks to Jason and all the folks over at MS Dynamics World for our continued collaboration on this Portals community call. So quick overview of what we're going to be chatting about, keeping it traditional like all the other months. We will talk about any Portals news that may have come up in the last month or so since our last call. We'll then get into our topic today, which is, as I mentioned, adding an agent. We'll then talk about the date and time of our next Portals community call, and there'll be time for Q&A. Now, if you do have any questions during any of the topics, please again drop those in the questions block. The time at the end is generally reserved for questions that are kind of unrelated to anything else we've talked about. But yeah, if you got a question about what I'm kind of talking about at that moment, feel free to drop those in, and I'll do my best to kind of answer them at that time. So, what do we got for Portals news? Not a whole ton. A couple of items that have been announced by the product team. Now, if you're not already kind of following along, the Microsoft Power Pages product team has a blog on kind of as part of the Power Platform blog, and that's where they typically will announce many of the new features. Not all, but many of the new features are on there. So that's kind of the best place to pay attention if you want to know what's kind of new, what's out there. So the two new posts that have come up since we last had a community call was the general availability of the agentic coding tool. So that's the GitHub Copilot CLI and the Claude Code. Lots of cool tools in there if you're into that sort of thing. Those are now generally available out of preview. So item number 2 is the availability for the D365 templates available in the enhanced data model and Bootstrap version 5. So when we talk about the D365 templates, we're talking about customer self-service, employee self-service, partner portal, community portal. Those are the ones that rely on having Dynamics 365 installed in your Dataverse environment. And so now if you were to to create a new site using one of those templates, you have the option to get enhanced data model if you turn it on, and you'll get Bootstrap version 5. That's awesome because, up until this was available, you were kind of setting yourself up for a migration project at some point because you would got standard data model, you got a Bootstrap 3. So it's great that any new project now are able to take advantage of these kind of newer technologies in the way that, enhanced data model. That's I suspect we're all going to be moving there in the next few years. So it's great that projects starting up now don't necessarily have to kind of build that into the plan to do an upgrade here in the near future. For people who are on existing versions, oh, we got Lynn saying not getting audio. Jason, am I coming through to you?
Yeah, you are coming through to me.
Okay.
I'll work with Lynn.
Okay, perfect. So if you have an existing D365 template on the enhanced data model, as of right now, there's still no kind of migration path. I believe that is coming. There's talk about that, there being a tool available to handle that migration. The Bootstrap version 5 tool does exist as part of the PAX CLI, so I'm hoping we'll see a version to do the enhanced data model conversion as well. The PAX CLI does have the enhanced data model conversion tool in it already, but it does check what templates you're using, and so if you're on the D365 one, it's not going to let you upgrade those templates. So hopefully that restriction will be removed shortly, so that you can upgrade all of the sites that are built on any sort of the template. So yeah, if you do have any existing sites on standard data model or Bootstrap 3, I would say now is the time to start planning and thinking about, how are you going to upgrade? Are you going to try and use one of these tools and try and kind of migrate your existing work, or is it going to be, a good opportunity to kind of re-implement? So you could start with kind of a new blank site and then kind of reuse a lot of your work, but kind of start from scratch. Just something to be aware of. I think when Microsoft does, at some point, I would expect them to announce that standard data model won't be supported. I think we are many years from that happening, would be my guess. But it is something to start thinking about. So, all right. And that kind of covers the news. So we are going to get into today's topic. And as I mentioned earlier, today's topic is add an agent. So there are many different ways that you can add an agent to Power Pages. What we're going to be focusing on today are kind of the built-in, out-of-the-box capabilities that make it actually really quick and easy to add an agent to your Power Pages site. They make it so that you can, in just a few clicks, create an agent and add it to your Power Pages site. So that is what we're going to be covering today. So the add an agent capabilities within Power Pages, what it does is it adds a Copilot Studio agent to your Power Pages site, like I said, with just a few clicks. That agent knows about the content of your site, so whatever you have kind of in web pages on your site, as well as any Dataverse tables that you specifically configure. So it is a relatively simple agent. And I do want to highlight here that this isn't it's similar to Power BI or the SharePoint integrations. This integration exists, but it's not included within the Power Pages licensing. So if you want to add an agent, you do need to have, because it is just, and we'll see how it actually literally is a Copilot Studio agent. It will show up in Copilot Studio. So you do require Copilot Studio licensing in order to use these capabilities. So it's not it's not a cheap free way to get Copilot Studio or to create an agent. It's really more, think of it as an integration with Copilot Studio, and so you still do require Copilot Studio licensing. So let's just do a quick demo of how we add an agent. So I'm going to leave here, go into here. So I am in the Design Studio. If I kind of go back to home here, I've got a few different sites within my environment. I'm going to go in this, I've created this FAQ a portal in the enhanced data model. So I'm just going to click edit here in the Design Studio. And I'm going to go to the setup area, and then I'm going to go to agents. And so what I am going to show, actually, maybe I'll just wait here. So all we really need to do here is check here. So you see we have no agents in here. I can say, hey, I want to create an agent. So this is going to now take a minute or two to actually go out and create the agent. So like I mentioned, it is actually creating an agent within Copilot Studio. We'll see here once this process is complete, we will actually be able to click and view this agent directly in Copilot Studio, and we'll see how we can even edit that agent. So think of this as essentially like a starter agent. There's kind of a template that Microsoft has that when you click this button, it creates an agent with certain capabilities, certain skills in order to kind of talk to be able to kind of query the data that exists in your Dataverse instance, as well as look at the content of your site. But you can then go in and kind of modify the agent itself. So it really is kind of like a starter template for an agent. And then of course they handle adding the kind of the script that's necessary to add an agent onto the Power Pages site. And then there's also some control that you can put on the agent using web roles. Let's see how long this is going to take here. If it takes too long, I'll just go to a site where I've already clicked on it. Usually this doesn't take too long. Just gonna hit refresh here, see where things are at. All right, so we do have this agent. So now if I were to click preview on my site, go desktop here. I'm not actually expecting to see anything because what I haven't done yet is, consent, accept. This is a brand new portal. What I haven't done is I haven't configured my agent for any web roles. So by default, the agent, I'd normally see a little box pop over here where I can interact with the agent. I haven't told my agent which web roles that I want to enable for it. So if I go into here and I go here and I say edit, what I have is the ability to say add roles, and I can pick which roles I want to be able to see this. In my case, I'm just going to enable it for anonymous users. Anyone can run this agent, that's fine with me, so I'm going to click OK. Now if I click preview, now I see my little agent in the bottom right corner. What can I help you with today? So I'm just going to say, and obviously when we're working with AI, this is like the worst for demos because we never sure what it's going to answer. So let me just say, what topics do you know about? Maybe topics 1 through 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask it about changing my password. Let's see here. This is taking a minute. All right, so we got topics. So let's see, it's found the topics page. Just for fun, I can say How do I change my password? Yeah. So it's possible that this article, oh yeah, because this is a knowledge article. I would have thought it would know about this. But again, that's the fun with AI is who knows what it actually is kind of in its knowledge to answer questions. But yeah, just within a few simple steps, we've added this Copilot Studio agent to our Power Pages site. Like I mentioned, if we go in here and we kind of edit this, really all we have is the ability to edit the different roles. So we can have different web roles. Um, we can have this bot or this agent enabled for different web roles. So often you maybe only want it for logged in users, so you could add the authenticated users web role here as well. Um, Now what I wanted to show you next here, I'll just kind of hit back to here, 5. So that's, kind of the very, in simplest terms, like how we can add an agent. Now, I mentioned earlier that we can control which Dataverse tables the agent knows about. So um, let me show you how that works. Go back to our agent. That's this section that exists right here. So this refine your data. So I can say make changes. And basically, it's just going to step me through a wizard here of which tables in Dataverse it knows about. And then for each table, we can control which columns it knows about. So in this case, you can see it knows about knowledge articles and knowledge article attachments. So I could add additional tables here if I wanted. I could say know about contacts, accounts, or any kind of custom tables I have. So this is literally the full list of tables from Dataverse. And then so once I've selected tables, for each one of the tables, so I can say knowledge articles here, I can select which columns are included in the knowledge of the agent, as well as I can select which page it can go to. So um, this is so when the agent responds with the answer to a question that's contained in some Dataverse data. Um, so in this case, we could maybe say search results articles. Do we have just an article? So what it's going to do is this would generally be the details page for whatever record that you're looking at, and it's going to add the ID of the record to the query string. So um, I'm not going to go through and save this. I'll just kind of leave it the way it is. But that's essentially the general setup. I know in one of my other examples, I have all these different golf courses, and so you could select the details page for that golf course. So then when the agent responds with an answer to your question, you can say, "Oh, yeah, I've got this information, and this is where I found it," and then the user can actually be directed to that details page. So in here again, you can choose you can configure which custom tables or which out-of-the-box tables you want your knowledge or your agent to be aware of, and then for each of those tables, you choose which columns it should essentially index, and then where the bot should send the user if the user kind of wants to see a reference to that content. Just going to discard those for now. So that's how you kind of can customize like kind of out of the box capabilities of the site. Again, the site should know any indexed pages you can see here, any indexed pages, and then it should also see any of the Dataverse columns, tables and columns that you've configured through that wizard that I've just shown you. All right. So, like I said, the agent is a Copilot Studio agent that you can modify. So we'll see that here in just a second. So a common modification is to add Bing search data to the knowledge. So you can say, hey, in addition to knowing about this portal, maybe there's another portal. Like for example, maybe I want to add the engineeredcode.com website, which has all this blog information on it, into the agent's knowledge. And again, the way we do that is just relying on the fact that we've just got a kind of a Copilot Studio agent that we can just modify. So why don't we look at how we do that? So if we go back to here, if we click on under analytics, if we click view, we're actually going to be taken to Copilot Studio. And we're going to see that my agent is now in Copilot Studio. So we've got this bot here. And in fact, if I just kind of go out here and I look at all my agents, you can see here that this bot has just been, this agent just kind of exists here with the name of my site with bot. And it was created 8 minutes ago, and it just is an agent that I can edit. So the way that we can add a site to its knowledge is by going into topics, and then we can go into system, and then we go into conversational boosting, I think it is. And so in this conversational boosting, you can kind of see what it's doing in terms of like getting the permissions, and it's getting getting the kind of the variables of like what was the information passed in. We can look at and you can see it actually making a call to the Power Pages site to kind of get the response in here. Then we can also look at, we can say edit data sources, and we can say under classic data, we can add in a public website. So let's just say https://www.engineered.com. All right, so now we've added this site. Did that go here? Okay, there we go. So we've added the site to our data sources. So you can see here that this, create generative answer is using our custom data, which has been pulled from Power Pages. So you can kind of see the flow here. And then I'm just kind of demonstrating that, again, what we've done is we've created, essentially, Microsoft has created a bot for us, and they've essentially used a template that, in theory, we could just kind of recreate ourselves. We could have called Power Pages. Now, they've created this endpoint to work nicely in Power Pages. So, like, yeah, we probably couldn't have created this particular endpoint, but the bot itself is something that, if you want to build it yourself from scratch, you definitely could at this point. I see Jim has asked a question about how is this license paid for? Is it via Copilot credits? So I'm certainly not an expert on Copilot Studio licensing, but I think the way, so it is licensed via Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio, I think what you do is you buy a Copilot Studio license, and that includes so many kind of credits as part of that. So, Jim, you're asking about, is it Copilot credits? I don't know if that's different than Copilot Studio credits, but like I know in my other tenant where we've actually purchased Copilot Studio itself as its own license, and I think comes with so many credits as part of that kind of monthly license. So I would say it is definitely Copilot Studio credits. I don't know if that's different than Copilot credits. All right, so now we've added that as a data source. Under classic data, we've added engineered code. So, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click publish, so my agent, so that the published version of this agent is aware of engineered code, and then we'll see if we can get that agent to pick up content off of the engineered code website. Takes a second to publish. All right, so the agent was published. Let's go back here. Hit the preview button. nothing we have to do on this side. Okay, let me just see if this thing knows anything about when should I use content snippets? I don't know, I probably have a blog post about that. We'll see. What I'm hoping to see is something that references, because this is going to, here we have a reference to the home page. Here we had a reference to topics all on this portal. But we should see the bot starting to reference that. What's the contact us? No, that's the contact us here. Oh, I wonder where it got this thing from. Let's try one more time. What services does engineered code provide? No, so it must, the agent must still be kind of working on getting that stuff into its index. Doesn't look like it's picked it up yet, but that's kind of the process. It sometimes can take a few minutes for the agent to be aware of those things. I don't think we need to, yeah, because this says last published 33 seconds ago. So probably just some patience necessary that I don't have. But that's kind of the idea, is that you could add that, and then the agent will start to respond with questions for based on that data. So again, that's just kind of one way you can modify it. That's one way that Microsoft has documented that it can be modified. But as you saw, just go here. Here. So as we saw in here, again, we can kind of see the flow of the agent and kind of how it works. So if there's things you want to do to spice it up and kind of improve it, you can absolutely do that in here. All right. Let's just jump back to the presentation. Okay. Now, again, that agent was quick to install, quick to set up, but maybe you're a Copilot Studio master and you've created the perfect agent. You don't really care so much about using the out-of-the-box agent. You've already created one that you want. You just want to easily put it into Power Pages. So you can swap out the out-of-the-box agent with one of your own. The process is pretty simple, and I'll show you how to do this. Again, maybe you've already created it, maybe you want to create one from scratch, but let's show you how to do that. So if we go back into the Power Pages Design Studio, essentially there's a setting that controls what is the name of the agent, or it's actually what is the schema name of the agent that the website's going to display. So as an example here, I'm going to go back to agents, leave that page. I'm going to say I've got this Nix test agent, which doesn't really do anything. But what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to go into its setting and I'm going to grab the schema name. That's essentially the unique name that we're going to need later on in this process, where we say, hey, don't use the out-of-the-box one. Let's use that schema name here. So this is the schema name that I need here. I'm going to grab this, go back over here, and this is where we have to, now that we've got the schema name, unfortunately, the setting for this is a little bit kind of hidden, or it takes a little bit of digging to get to it. Microsoft does have documentation on how to do this, so it's relatively straightforward. The one kind of caveat to that is these steps depend on whether you're using the enhanced data model or the standard data model. Either way, what you're looking for is there's a bot consumer table in the standard data model. If I just say bot consumer, you'll see that there's an actual table called bot consumer here where we can update these variables. In the enhanced data model, this is actually within the site component table, because that is one of those kind of MSPP tables that are handled as a virtual table. So what we do is we go into here and we can say filter by, and we can say bot consumer, apply, and we can see that I have this bot consumer row for my portal, and I can click this and I can say edit form using row. This is going to bring up a form that has some JSON in it that has my schema name. So this is the schema name of the existing one. I'm just going to go in here and drop in this updated schema name. I think I also updated here as well. So I'm going to update that bot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click save and close here. Done. So now that's been updated. Now, I think if I just do this, that is not going to work. Because I think I need to add the bot. Oh yeah, so there we go, Nix test agent. Yeah, so we've got Nix test agent. The other thing that we're supposed to do is we are supposed to go into the setup, we go into agents, and what we do is we add the agent here. So this is the list of all the agents that are available in this Dataverse environment. And then I'm actually surprised that this worked without doing this. I should have to say this is available for anonymous users. Click save. Anyone can run this agent. So basically you can have multiple agents here. Now that I do have multiple agents, I'm going to go back here, I'm going to preview. Let my agent load. Oh, now I broke it. Didn't like that. Try that one more time. It's funny how it worked before, but didn't work this time. So I'm not logged in. That's very interesting. I don't know why, because this test agent is in here. Very interesting. I'm going to remove this, see if we can get it back to showing up. It's weird that, all right, well, that seems a bit odd. That's not what I was experiencing earlier, but that's fine. So yeah, that's how you can, by going into that site components or going into that bot consumer, kind of updating those IDs allows you to control that. I think if I had to guess, probably shouldn't have updated. Let me go back to site component. See if I can edit this. Maybe I should not have edited that one. Let me do this. Get back to this. agent. So there's this bot. This one has settings. Just grab the schema name for this one. That. Just try putting that in there. That's the only difference I had there. Done. Set up. Let's see what that does. So still using my test agent. And then go to agents. Add agent, test agent. Huh. Very interesting. All right. Anyways, don't know what's going on there, but yeah. In fact, you should be able to see two agents. You should be able to actually flip between them, but demo gods are not with me today, so we will move on from that. Okay, where are we at here? So let's talk a little bit about authentication. So as we saw in that kind of demo or in that kind of template, the agent can kind of know about who the user is logged in. So you can configure authentication so that no authentication is required, and so or you can also have single sign-on over to the agent as well. So you can essentially pass information about the agent, and so if you're customizing it, if you want to, you can figure out who's actually logged in and customize things that way. The options with Copilot Studio for single sign-on include Entra ID. So if your Power Pages site is just using Entra ID, you can hook that in, or you can use kind of a generic, they call it OAuth 2 within Copilot Studio. In that case, you can either integrate, basically you can take the token that Power Pages gets from the auth provider and consume that and kind of single sign-on in Copilot Studio as well. So if you're building some more kind of advanced Copilot Studios, if you got if you're building your own kind of custom one, you can integrate knowledge about the person who's currently logged in as well. Jim says maybe you need two bot consumer rows, one for each bot. Yeah, so it should create another bot consumer row for each bot as they're added, but there's one. Let me just take one more look at that. What I would expect to see when I have the two bots in there now, I would expect to see two. I would expect to see two bot consumer rows. Yeah, so there is this one, but the one that says bot consumer is kind of where you set the default for it. So that's the part that I'm not quite following, at least. I think the only thing I can think of is when I was doing my testing on this earlier, I did it in the standard data model. So maybe there's just some inconsistencies between how the standard data model and the enhanced data model is working on this. All right. So in terms of the look and feel of your agent, you can customize it just essentially using, think of it as just CSS on the page. So in the same way that we can kind of modify any look and feel in Power Page, we just do that by just kind of inspecting the styles, craft your own CSS. That is totally doable. You can also build your own interface using, there is a client API. So I'm just going to show you some links that Microsoft has for that. So this is about customizing the agent appearance. So in this one, they just basically give you, hey, look, here's a CSS class you can use to customize it. Here are all the different elements. Here's the different, essentially, here's the CSS classes you can use. The fact that they've documented it, to me, tells me that it's, this stuff is kind of unlikely to change, and they're trying to be consistent about it. So if there's something you need to do that isn't covered in this documentation, you can look at those, inspect and look at the CSS classes, but obviously they'd be kind of subject to change. And then again, in terms of the custom interface, they do have a relatively long document here with some sample code. And this is, again, essentially building your own chat interface, and you're essentially interacting with, there is a web API endpoint that's specifically for the chatbot. So you can kind of build your own thing, and it's kind of pushing the messages back and forth. And you can see for here, what they actually do is they hide that PVA floating style. They actually just hide the out-of-the-box agent. So it's kind of there, but you've hidden the elements so the users can't get to it, and you've kind of built your own interface here. Somewhere in here, we'll see a call to the, so here's like kind of the agent here. Yeah, somewhere here, there'll be a call to the actual endpoint. Send blah, 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 send activity. So it's going to send that activity and kind of get the result back. So because we do have a web API, or sorry, a client-side API for agent, which would then send off this request, this would be, what was it here, send, so this is that client API to send the activity and get the response. All of that is kind of possible if you want to customize the look and feel of it. You can do that. Right. Oh, let me just get back to where I was here. Okay, so managing agent provisioning. So this is something I've actually kind of just working with the product team on right now. So if you look at the documentation, it says by default bots are created as part of the site provisioning. So when you create a new site, it actually does provision the bot in the background. I'm not finding this to be the case, or at least I can't really kind of validate that this is happening. But possibly the bot exists in the background, but as we saw, it kind of took a few minutes for it to spin up. But if that ever kind of does get sorted out, and you don't want to, and you don't want a new site to create a new bot, you can disable this default behavior. There's some PowerShell commands. It's basically using the get and set tenant settings PowerShell command for Power Platform settings. So again, this isn't working for me as documented, because to me, this setting for me is undefined, which means that a bot should be created when I spin up a new site. I'm not seeing that happen, so maybe we'll get some clarification on that. But if you don't want bots to be created, you're probably safer just to set it to false now, anyways, and then you don't have to worry about when that kind of gets all sorted out. So, but there's that one setting, that tenant setting that can be set with PowerShell to disable agent provisioning by default. And then the last piece I want to cover is there is some preview functionality for kind of adding the ability to an agent to work directly with a form. I don't have a demo of that set up, but there is a great post from Ulrike Ackerback, PowerPage and MVP from Europe, and so she has a great blog post on that. So I was just going to. I'm just going to check. Okay, go out here, go back to here. So you can see data aware AI chatbot, and then what I really want to just kind of show you what do we mean by that? It's like, so you can actually interact with the bot. Let's see if I can make this kind of full screen. So you can see in this example here that you can interact with the bot and actually have it fill out the form. So this thing, what it's actually doing is it's interacting with the web API to submit that form. So what it's doing is it's kind of reading this form saying, oh, we need kind of these details. The bot will kind of read that in and kind of prompt you for what you need and then submit that via the web API. So again, this is in preview. If you go through Overkit's post about it, you'll see that there are some, can be a little bit challenging to set up to begin with, but something that you can try if you're interested in having that bot kind of interacting with a form and helping the users kind of, lots of people think that the future is, fewer forms and more agents. So this helps you take one step in that direction where you can still have the form for your users, but if they prefer to work via an agent, they can do it that way as well. So give it a try. All right, let me get back to here. So that's what I want to kind of cover in terms of adding an agent. Again, the big takeaways are how quick it is to add an agent this way. Click of a button, wait a minute, there it is. It knows about your Power Pages site. It knows about the data in Dataverse. So that's all very easy to do that. As with all things Microsoft, don't forget about the licensing. So you got to pay for the Copilot Studio licensing to add that agent, and then you can kind of customize it from there as well. So I don't think that Copilot's necessarily the cheap, like it's definitely not like free or near free. So, but I think that's kind of really just the main obstacle for not turning this on. If an organization is already kind of embracing Copilot and maybe has those Copilot Studio licenses, like to me, if it was free, it would kind of make sense just to kind of turn this on for everything, give that option to your users. Obviously, since it's not free, you have to make that kind of decision. But I think it is a great feature for quickly and easily adding that kind of agent experience to your sites. Okay, so our next community call is scheduled for July 16th, so roughly a month from now. So look forward to seeing everyone there. As always, I don't have a topic picked out for next month, so if anyone has anything specific they want to get covered, drop it in the questions here. Shoot me an email. I'm always happy to cover topics of that have been requested. So happy to do that. So let me know about that. Again, thank you to Jason and the team at MS Dynamics World. I know we're going to get to the kind of the Q&A portion here. So while I do my thank you to Jason, feel free to drop any questions that you may have. Again, whether it's about today's topic or Power Pages in general, Power Platform stuff, happy to answer that. But if you have any questions, drop them in the questions block. But otherwise, again, thanks to Jason and MS Dynamics World for all their support with these calls over the years. Looking forward to July. And I think maybe, Jason, we can wrap it up there. I don't see any additional questions that I've missed in the question block.
Yeah, I don't see any either. So let's end it there. Thanks again, Nick. Thanks to everyone for joining us and for your questions. And we'll hopefully see you next month. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.